I was open about it. I don't know if I would immediately, that wasn't the first topic, and you want to get to know someone, all that, but it seemed to come up pretty quickly, and it was my own doing. Like, it would just ask me about, my history. Who are you? And not to say that I am epilepsy or epilepsy defines me, but it certainly was and remains a big aspect of my life. So it came up pretty quick, date 1 or 2.
Before we jump into this episode, I want to invite you to join the What the F community to hear even more conversations that will make you laugh, cry, and feel more connected. All I'm asking you to do is click on that subscribe button that's right on your screen. I love your support, and it is so inspiring and amazing to see all of your comments. Thank you so much for subscribing. It means the world. Here we go. Hey guys, welcome to What the F. So excited about today's episode with my good friend Brendan. Not Brandon. Before we get started and talking about dating and all of the craziness that goes with it, I really just want to thank SK Life Science and Neurelis for believing in What the F podcast, for making these conversations possible. So appreciative. And Brendan, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it too.
Landis, happy to be here.
Yeah.
I knew it was coming, and glad to be in studio with you.
Yeah, I've had you
such a great podcast.
Oh, thanks, man.
Long time listener since it came out. And yeah,
you're the
happy
best.
to be a guest.
Thank you. Well, I kept telling you, I was like, one day you're going to be a guest.
I know.
Yeah.
It was building up, and the moment's here. Yep.
Yeah.
I'm happy
I was like,
here.
it's going to be about dating. Thank you, Brendan. Because it's such a crazy topic for anyone, right, who's out in the world dating.
Yep.
But then also, especially when you have epilepsy, it's just adds this whole other layer. But we're going to get to that in a little bit, because first I want everyone to know your story with epilepsy, because it is insane, as they all are. Who has a non-insane epilepsy story? Right. But yeah, I just want you to share, like, when did epilepsy enter your life?
I was 21, so back in 2011.
Yay, 21.
Yeah, 21 years old. Just out in the world and living with epilepsy. Little did I know. We didn't know at the time. So we were on a little family vacation up in Michigan, as we did every year growing up, up in Leland, Michigan. And as far as I know, this was the first seizure I had.
Okay.
I was sitting there out in the back patio playing a game of chess with my dad. And the next thing I know, I start just moving the pieces on the chessboard everywhere. I know how to play chess, so I wasn't just... it was just an absolute disaster. So
were you convulsing, or was it
I was
just
not convulsing.
Okay.
It was in kind of an absence,
yeah,
like seizure.
Yeah, partial complex, where you just start moving.
Exactly.
Did your dad pick up on it right away?
Oh, he knew something was wrong.
Yeah,
but that was, again, the first seizure I had.
Yeah.
So we didn't know at the time what was going on.
Right.
But something was a little out of place. The chess pieces were out of place, and something that was going on with me was not right. So that was my kind of initial, I don't know, welcome to seizures. Yeah.
So did you go then, like, were you like straight to the neurologist from there?
After that trip?
Yeah.
I mean, it was just a weekend long trip.
Okay.
So we went there rode out the next couple of days, knowing kind of in the back of my head, and obviously something was going on. So I went to the neurologist, a couple weeks after that.
Which is really awesome, because I mean, I feel like so many people, myself included, will have something happen and be like, I don't know what that was, weird. And then just keep going on with your life,
Yeah, no, I knew something. And again, being 21, I wasn't quite sure. And that being the first time, I knew something was not going quite well. Yeah. But little did I know. And then, it didn't take too long. I think I was diagnosed that same year, 2011.
Okay. But then, like, the rest of your journey wasn't like smooth sailing.
Bits and pieces that were smooth and others that were not. I went through a nice little period of seizure freedom on medication.
Yeah.
But there was a good chunk from like 2014 to 2017, 2018 of no seizures at all. So I was like,
amazing.
I beat this. The medications beat this. But no, and then, over the past maybe 5 years, it had taken off and was not smooth sailing whatsoever.
Yeah. How did it re-enter your life? Not re-enter, because it's always there. I shouldn't say
that. It's always kind of in the back of your head.
How did the seizures re-enter, I should say?
I have to say, I mean, I can't state this for fact or for certain, but once COVID hit and I was working at a job that was remote, I was working from home, living in a little studio apartment here in Chicago, high stress job. And it was really kind of on the job 24/7 and was just stressed out, not leaving my apartment. So this was 2020 kind of peak.
Yeah. Well, and COVID. You hear that a lot. Like some people were like, oh, working from home was so great because of the benefits of being able to do your laundry in the middle of the day. And then some people were like, yeah, but I never stopped working.
That's how it was for me. When it came around, when COVID came around and they said, all right, we're going to send you guys home for a week, because no one knew what was going on at that time.
Sure. Right.
But all right, so no one's coming into the office for a week.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh, this is awesome. Yeah, great. And then it became permanent, and I was working at a logistics company, so trucks never stopped moving. I just could not get away from the job, and I was also working from a studio apartment. So
yeah,
little stressed out, to say the least, and started. Back to your question. That's pretty much when it re-entered my life. Wasn't anything to do with I didn't get COVID or anything. It was just sort of that whole environment of being locked inside, working constantly, not being off the clock, and a lot of it was stress induced.
Stress and lack of sleep are pretty well-known triggers for epilepsy, and it sounds like it just kind of rolled all into one.
Yep, the punches kept coming.
So because I know, and our guests don't know, but I would like you to share how you came about to choose to have brain surgery for your epilepsy, because that is such it's a treatment that I feel like not a lot of people know a lot about, myself included.
Yeah.
My doctor has said, I could be a candidate for it. And I was like, fuck no.
Yeah. No shit.
I had already had surgery for a brain tumor. I was like, not doing it. And refused. I didn't even learn anything about it. I just, so in retrospect, I kind of wish I had learned a little bit more, and I'm still a candidate for it. It's still a possibility, but I would just love to learn more from you and from anyone else who's had that experience. So if you could share with our audience and me what led you to that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I was living with epilepsy for 10 years before surgery was even on the table. I've seen a couple different neurologists in my span of living with epilepsy. And my initial one, we were just kind of messing around with medications all the time. Just up in doses, switching meds, all that. And then
I feel that journey. On that journey now.
I know. It's great for some people. And
totally.
Perfect. So I understand, where they were coming from. Wasn't doing the job for me. So I ended up going to see a second neurologist just to see what might be going on here. What's really going on underneath. And that was when it was first. This was 2021, beginning of the year. Once kind of after the seizures really re-entered my life, so to speak. So went there, and they were the ones that initially presented it. Surgery had never been an option, or at least presented to me until 2021, which is the year I had my surgery. So they thought you undergo all sorts of pre-surgical workups, some couple stays in the EMU, WADA testing, neuropsych testing, all that, just to make sure you are indeed a candidate.
Okay.
And turns out I was. And to be honest, I don't mean to, it is a big decision, but I didn't really think twice. I said, 2020 was a bad year. So when my doctor said, you indeed are a candidate for surgery, there's a decent likelihood that it could be seizure freedom. It's not guaranteed by any means, but it didn't take a whole lot of convincing. Said, let's roll with it. And had surgery that July of 2021.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
What, so I have a few questions. What was it that made it not like a question for you where you're just like, absolutely going to do this?
That is just kind of my mentality in general. And again, I don't mean to make light of it because it is a big decision.
Yeah, no.
It is big, but
brain surgery is funny too. Yeah. We can say that. We've both had it.
I know. It just, the way it was presented to me was that we're going to have to remove, it turned out to be my hippocampus on my right side. Not my left, luckily not my left one. Yeah.
Okay, wait, you have to back up and explain so much. So you said, luckily my hippocampus. What do you mean luckily?
Luckily, my I always struggle with this word.
I can't say that word either.
Epileptogenic zone.
Oh, I thought you were saying epileptologist.
Oh, no.
Which I never got right.
Same root. But, my seizures were stemming from my right hippocampus. And they found this out through the
EEGs and stuff?
EEGs, my WADA testing, MRIs, all that. They were able to see that.
WADA testing, because it's not just making you want to laugh. WADA. I feel like there's so many dad jokes in there. What do you know about your brain?
That was a doctor's name. It's not an acronym or anything.
Oh, well.
The guy's name was WADA.
I'm just being I'm just learning how ignorant I am right now.
No, not at all. I mean, we all are. Not many people would know that until you go through it.
No, I don't even know if I've had one. Now I need to call up.
WADA is an incredible, it's been around for a bit. I can't say the year, but they essentially shut down. It's a operating room. It's not a surgery, but they will shut down one hemisphere of your brain through an injection up your carotid artery. They'll shut down one hemisphere and then do some neuropsychological testing, like memory testing, language testing. Then they'll give you a little break, shut down the other hemisphere, and that way they're able to see where is this patient's memory and language, which is the dominant hemisphere. And so back to it, turned out through, again, it was not just WADA. I underwent WADA, but then various tests, MRI, EEG, all that. They were able to see that my seizures were coming from my right side. And if, given the results of the WADA test, that if they were to, do surgery on my right side, I would still maintain most of my memory and all of my language function. So.
Wow. Okay. And that's why you said, thankfully, not on your left.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes, because that could have been a totally different story. Might not have been a candidate for surgery.
Oh, wow.
If that was the case.
Okay.
So that's why I said yes. Thankfully and luckily, my seizures were coming from a good portion of my brain.
Always like that.
Yeah.
So what has it looked like since your surgery? What is your...
Overall, it's been smooth sailing. Minus the little recovery period post-surgery, which was, a couple months of not feeling too well. But from a seizure standpoint, it's been really outstanding. Again, just can't be more thankful that it took place because I have not had any seizures since July of 2021, which is a great feeling.
That's it's fucking
still
amazing.
I know. It still just rattles around in the back of your head that one's coming. I hate to be a downer. I don't mean that, but it's just still floats around there.
Well, I was just going to ask you that because you said, you had that period of a few years where you didn't have seizures.
Yes.
And then, you have this successful surgery and so, but you go seizure free for
now over 2 years.
Yeah. And so I've always wondered what it's like in that phase, living with epilepsy, but not having active seizures currently.
Yes. It's a good feeling.
Sure. Yeah.
I still take my medications, morning and night. So there's still that. You're still living with it without really. I just feel like I know I am and I have it, but I just take my medications. The surgery obviously helped. But it's hard to not think that one day there might just be this breakthrough, and that's certainly possible. My doctors have told me, just because surgery was successful doesn't necessarily mean that you're done with it.
Right. I just feel like that's such an odd place to be. Like for me, my seizures are currently active.
Yes.
And so it's kind of like everything I do in the back of my mind, there is this, will be cautious because there could be a seizure. Even for today's recording yesterday, I was nervous as hell because I was like, oh my God, lay low. My friends asked me to go. I was like, no, I'm not doing anything. I'm staying home because I don't want to have a seizure before this recording, And is that still there? Is that, and you said rattling around the back of your head, so maybe it is, but
it is, yeah. I mean, with just lifestyle changes, I went to bed quite early last night too.
Thank you.
I'm worried mostly about not stressing myself out and sleeping, because I know in the past that's kind of been the trigger, so to speak. There's been multiple triggers, but overall, try and get as much sleep as I can.
Yeah.
And just try and not stress myself about too much.
Isn't it weird to like, I'm getting stressed about not being stressed. And
yeah. No,
but it's for a good reason because, and that's, everyone in the world, whether or not you live with epilepsy or not, you kind of have that as well. But it's just that our, effects are way more immediate.
Yeah.
Our side effects of stress are just like, for other people, it might come later in life, but us is like, it comes in the next hour.
So everyone gets stressed about that. That's totally natural.
Right.
I just try and let it pass. If it comes, like, this is not worth worrying about.
Yes, absolutely. So speaking of stress, though, what about your career that you had said was very stressful?
My prior career, yes.
Yeah. And so you chose to leave.
I did. Well, I wouldn't say I chose. I was forced. I had a seizure in the office.
That'll do it.
It was just by nature a stressful industry and stressful job. I was an account manager at a freight brokerage, and
I don't even know what that means. I'm like, cool. It sounds smart.
Oh God, no. What it came down, yes, there are plenty of smart people in the industry. I was not one of them. But what it came down to is making sure my customers had their products shipped and delivered where they needed to be on time. And you kind of take it for granted, but when you just show up to the store one day and you expect what you're going to the store for is on the shelf. And that's really what it came down to.
Now we know it was thanks to you.
Yep. And many other people. It's a big industry. But I ended up I went on medical leave from that job because of my seizures and because of the surgery.
Yeah.
And so it was really during that time I was due to come back. So I had my surgery July of 2021 and was due to come back at the end of October that same year. So I had 3 months of medical leave.
Okay.
And it was really during that time, post recovery period, I had a bit more of a clear mind after a month or so.
Yeah.
I don't want to return to this job because we were still working from home and wanted to do something different and wanted to get more involved just in both the medical field and specifically the epilepsy realm of work. And so started just looking around for career changes at that time. And God, this is kind of a funny moment. I was laying on the couch, browsing around the epilepsy subreddit, and saw this post of somebody who said, looking for a career change, like, why not become an EEG technician? And this was in strictly the epilepsy Reddit page.
Wow.
And I'm like,
your inspiration came from Reddit? That's amazing.
It's weird to say, but yes, it actually did. So I clicked on it, and this person made a post that said, like, the EEG tech field it's a big one. There's a lot of jobs, a lot of job openings. And again, he was typing, I suppose, to the epilepsy community. And it just kind of, struck a chord with me that
whatever this guy did worked.
Why not? I guess I'd never thought about that. I had up to that point, even leading up to that, I had thought about maybe going to nursing school. I knew I wanted to get involved in healthcare and just the medical field. So it wasn't totally out of the blue, but I'd never thought about being an EEG technician until I saw that.
Yeah.
And then, sure enough, I that day started looking around at, okay, where can I go, to training and school for being an EEG tech. And then it turns out, I found this out months later, that the person who made that post, I ended up working with him.
No.
It was during my clinical rotation at school.
How did you figure that out?
Because he had asked me, so I was working with him up to that point. It had already been a few months on clinicals. And I didn't work with him each day. He was like a weekend shift guy and occasional weekdays. But it was actually my last day of my clinicals. We really had like a sit down talk about, where are you going next? What are you doing? How'd you even get into this? So, and I told him this story about me browsing Reddit.
Yeah.
And he was the guy that made the post. Yeah.
That is so cool. Oh my God. Did you guys have like a little kumbaya moment?
Quite a bonding moment.
Yeah. That's like, literally full circle.
Yeah. I was like, wow, I showed him the post and he's like, yeah, that was me.
That's amazing.
So thanks a lot.
Oh my God.
This is why I'm here. And,
see, you never know what happens when you post things on Reddit.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes you don't want to know, but
yeah, that's true.
But that was a good Reddit moment.
I love it. I love it.
Yep.
And so now you are an EEG tech.
I am. Yeah. Yes, I have been since May.
Congrats.
So still
man.
kind of
awesome.
fresh to the field, but liking it a lot.
And I know in your clinicals you had mentioned you worked with like patients in the EMU.
Yes.
And currently you're not necessarily on the EMU, but
here and there, I have my rotations.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, but no, for the most part, you're right. I'll get up there here and there, but like for instance, today we had our EMU intake, but I'm not working today. I'm off today,
okay.
So it's here and there. We don't have many patients over the weekend unless there's certain cases, so it's hit or miss. But for the most part, I'm mostly just going throughout the hospital. I'm running portable EEGs.
Nice. And how does it feel when you are working with a patient who has epilepsy and you're putting an EEG on them?
That's a good feeling and one I really like because that's relatable. You're running EEGs on all sorts of patients,
totally
epilepsy or not. It could be really anything. So I really enjoy it. But yeah, when you do get a patient, particularly with epilepsy and even temporal lobe epilepsy, like a specific type that I can relate to, there's definitely that bond. You can kind of, again, every case is so different. So you don't want to just say like, oh, I know exactly what you're going through.
Right.
You can't say that. And I don't. But you can relate to it and you can get a sense of comfort from the patient that, okay, the person slapping all these wires on me has had this many times too. I think about that. Like if I were in the EMU and the EEG tech was putting, like shared with me, like I have epilepsy as well. I'd be like, oh, no way. Like thank you, you know, because I love my EEG technicians that I've had in the EMU. It makes sense that you went into this field to me in my limited perspective, just because they're very personable people. They're very fun to talk to, engaging, Exactly.
So in my head, the profile, you fit it very well. And if one of them had said, I have epilepsy too, I've had a million of these, I'd be like, oh, thank you.
Yep.
So
no,
you
absolutely.
get it, because like you said, you get it, but you don't get it, but you get it kind of thing.
No, exactly. There was a good bit when I was doing that when I was really, really first starting out, my first couple months, I didn't really want to talk because I was so focused and dialed in on what I was doing.
Yeah,
because I was
that makes sense.
Getting used to it, but now a lot more comfortable and can start having more of those conversations with particular patients.
Warms my heart. Oh, I love it.
All that to say, happy that I made that decision and career change because it's been a great 7 months and who knows what's to come from here.
Totally. Yeah. I think I love that you kind of saw what was driving a lot of your stress and made a change.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, which isn't easy to do. So
no, I'm just kind of one of those fly by the seat of my pants. Like it was a big decision again, like surgery, like a career change. And that's not to say I didn't put thought into it, but it was really a quick decision. Like, let's try this out and see how it goes. Yeah. And if it doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out.
Right.
If it does, then hey.
That mentality is actually a great segue to talk about dating.
Sure.
Because that's pretty much how dating is, right? Like, let's try it. Let's see. If it doesn't work out, it does. And then, I won't go there. So, like, when you're describing, like, I don't know, just your epilepsy journey, I feel like for me anyway, I tried to date, like after my brain surgery and I was going through radiation, like this poor guy I went on a date with, I didn't tell him I had epilepsy. I didn't tell him I was going through radiation. I didn't tell him I just had brain surgery. I was just like, maybe he'll just like going out during the day because that's all I could do.
Because I got to be in bed by 8.
Yeah, exactly. I'm asleep by 7:30. So, like, what did, I don't know, dating look like, or how did you approach it when you...
It was kind of as I approach everything, I was open about it, certainly, when I was going on dates and actively, in the dating field. I was open about it. I don't know if I would immediately, that wasn't the first topic, and you want to get to know someone, all that, but it seemed to come up pretty quickly, and it was my own doing. Like, it would just ask me about, my history. Who are you? And not to say that I am epilepsy or epilepsy defines me, but it certainly was and remains a big aspect of my life. So it came up pretty quick, date 1 or 2.
Well, that seems to always be one of the most popular questions that I hear. I even got this question from your mom when I first met her.
My mom, the question master.
Yeah. She was like, when do you tell a guy that you have epilepsy? Like, when do you tell him? Is your first date? Or, and I was just kind of like, Molly, that is a great question. And I don't have the answer, because I think it's just kind of like you said, it's so individual.
Yeah.
And then I don't know and this is what I really want to know too, is like, because as a woman, and I hear from many women that they feel like it's a burden or that it's an undesirable aspect.
Okay.
Is that something you ever have felt or view as an issue in dating? Like that you feel like that epilepsy could make you less desirable as a man?
To be completely honest, no. Because again,
Goddamn white men. Okay.
It really hasn't. Again, I'm open about it.
Yeah.
But I almost feel bad saying, because when I was really going through it, like, multiple seizures a week, I also wasn't dating. Like I wasn't going out on dates. So
you probably couldn't survive them.
It had, right.
Point, yeah.
Again, each case is unique and each person has a different story. But when it was really controlling my life, dating was the last thing on my mind. And so now that it's under control, and hopefully it stays that way, and going back on dates, it still comes up, but it really doesn't play for me all that major of a role. I'm open about it.
Sure.
Like let them know I have epilepsy. Should I have a seizure? Here's what to do, and it's certainly possible, but I don't. Yeah, I can't say it plays all that.
I love hearing that. Yeah. I love it, but I love how you say like it doesn't define me, but it's a big part of who I am.
Yep. And nor would it if I were in someone else. If I was going out on a date and found out they had epilepsy and I didn't, I would still be wide open to I would be glad that they put that on the table and let me know.
Sure.
But I can't say that it would really change my opinion or feeling towards that person.
Well, that's good to hear because it's, and I do feel like, those of us blessed with chronic illnesses kind of feel that way, Yeah. And like there's talked to some of my male friends with epilepsy, because I have more than just you. Brendan, not Brandon. And they have said things like it makes them feel like less of a man. And I don't know, and I have a feeling I know what your answer is going to be. You're like, nah, fine. But I can also understand that too. You know, the thing about like some people not being able to drive, or that there's and it possibly is antiquated view that, you know, man should be and I'm fine and I have no issues and I can take care of you, but like having a seizure is rather vulnerable.
Yes, it certainly is. Oh God, yeah, it absolutely is.
So I wonder, and part of me wonders if it's connected to that somehow. You know, or if you could give me insight to how the male brain thinks, because who has epilepsy?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a tall, super. I'm not like the you know. Not the alpha male, so to speak.
Yeah.
I certainly am male, but I just don't really think that way. I don't know. My brain, for all its faults, I and you know,
God bless it. It's
mishaps,
progressive.
That is just not the way. I don't even think about that.
Has it ever happened to you? Have you ever had a seizure, like while out on a date or while?
Not on a date. Okay. I've had many seizures in public, out on the golf course, with friends, during an interview one time.
An interview? Yeah. Tell me about that.
A Zoom interview.
But, wow.
I did not get the job.
Assholes.
Yeah. I did, after that, like a few days after that, ask the person I was interviewing with, like, what happened? Because I had no recollection of it. I knew I had one.
You mean of the seizure or the interview, or both?
Because we were on Zoom. Like I was on Zoom with this person, and had a seizure. I know I had a seizure. Fell out of my chair. Just.
Oh my God! Poor thing. That's awful.
Yeah, but it was at the same job. You know, looking back, glad I didn't even get it.
Yeah, right.
this was pre-surgery, all that. But no, yeah. So those are the kind of vulnerable moments, so to speak. It's not embarrassing, but yeah, vulnerable. And you know, because this person was obviously not going to this interview expecting the candidate to seize mid-interview.
Yeah, well, neither was the candidate.
Nor was the candidate. Yeah, I'm like, I'm ready to go for this, and then next thing you know, I feel like that was also kind of stress-induced.
Probably.
I don't interview well.
Really?
For jobs.
Okay.
I don't know. You just kind of get this all built up in your head, like, oh, I've got to.
Yeah.
These questions that are going to be thrown at me, I don't know where they're coming from, don't know how to answer them, so you kind of build up this stress a little bit.
Makes sense.
And so, yeah, that was, again, just, another sort of public seizure. But again, I've had them in front of a lot of my friends. Pretty much most of my friends have seen me have
basically
seizures.
You have to be a really good friend of Brendan's if you've seen a seizure. You're like in.
I've got really, really good friends.
I love that.
Yeah, who are fully understand the condition, know what to do if they witness one. And so, it's been, again, lucky in that sense too.
I love that. Yeah. That's awesome. What do you expect from like a future partner in regards to your epilepsy?
Someone who is willing to kind of go through that journey with me. Should it, fully re-enter my life, I start actively having seizures again.
Yeah.
They would understand because again, I'm open with them about it from the get-go. They know it's an absolute possibility. Should it re-enter and become a big factor, then they would already understand that, and I would hope and expect them to ride that through with me. And that, I guess that's all you can ask for. Be supportive.
Yeah.
Be caring. That's what I would look for. But again,
what about right now though for you? Because you say like if it were to come back like full on seizures, this is what I'd expect. But what about as a person, living with epilepsy who is seizure free for a little bit?
Yeah, It doesn't really change because I am seeing someone now who knows my history with it, knows that it could have a breakthrough really at any moment. So I just asked them to kind of not expect it to happen by any means, but just know that it's bubbling. It could rear its head any day.
Yeah.
That sounds morbid in a way, but
no, not at all. It's
in my head. It's in my head, and so I'm just as honest as I can be with my partner, that this is a real possibility. It's happened in the past. Just take that road with me, and I know they would.
Well, and I think that's pretty fucking awesome. Just like, be like, my answer doesn't change, and this is kind of what, I expect and what, it sounds like is happening, and which is wonderful.
Yeah.
And I just love that. Or I guess the thing that I like going back to, when I was dating, I remember the thing that just gave me the most anxiety was like, okay, but I'm not staying out late because, I have to go to bed early, and just the lifestyle stuff, not even outside the seizures.
It's different. I do, like I said, try and go to bed early, but I'm also not on for instance, on my weekends, I feel comfortable personally staying out a bit later and sleeping in later. I have no issue
Good for you.
sleeping in. I don't have that body alarm.
You
I haven't grown into it. Yeah.
It comes with age.
I can. Yeah.
Talk to me in 5 years.
On my weeknights, I can knock out 9, 10 o'clock with ease and get up early for work. On my weekends, I personally feel comfortable. I can push it, stay up a bit later, knowing that I can sleep in pretty easily. So it's different for everyone. Yeah.
I know.
I don't want to say that's just the way it should be for everyone, but it works for me. It has worked for me. And that's kind of how I roll with it.
Yeah. No, I think that's so important too, just because there's so many questions that people ask in the epilepsy community, and it's very annoying that the answer is generally always the same, and it's individual.
It is. I know. You can't stress it enough. It is truly individual.
Yeah.
There are absolutely known, factors and triggers for it, but each individual has an individual kind of coping strategy and just different type of, epilepsy.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and also just I love how you've talked about this several times today, just the listening to your gut.
Yeah.
And you have just, been easy decision, brain surgery, easy decision, because we all say that, but the career change, easy decision, and you're just kind of talking even about dating. It's it sounds like you're just doing a very good job of tuning into yourself, seeing what you need, and moving on and enjoying life that way.
Yes. I know what I need, and I know what's good for me. And again, going back to not even just dating, just relationships in general. People recognize that, and a lot of great people in my life and great relationships understand that, and go along with it, and are willing to help and give their support and care, and that's all I can ask for.
And I want to end on that beautiful sentiment, because that's absolutely gorgeous, and just kind of reaffirms the idea of finding your people.
Yeah.
Find your people.
Been fortunate to have, just throughout my life, before epilepsy hit me, had a great just network of family and friends, and they've seen me through and have had my back. So couldn't be more grateful about that, and it remains that way.
Well, and I've met your people. I've met your folks. They're great.
Yeah, they absolutely are.
Yeah,
it's a rock. Just fortunate to have that, and you can't can't stop being grateful about it. Like it just every day.
Yes.
You gotta, if you're having a rough day or a down day, just immediately flip to that kind of gratitude aspect and be thankful for it.
Absolutely. Just like Nancy's a mutual person in our world.
Yep.
I'm wearing one of Henry's
I
hearts.
Love it. I love it.
So if you like this necklace, look at the info in the podcast description, episode description, for one of Henry's hearts. It's a beautiful story, and Nancy's a beautiful human.
My mom has one, and this will air in January, right? For Christmas, my sister's going to get one too.
Awesome. I love it.
Yep.
Yeah, and when you go somewhere in Chicago, people will be like, Nancy's, Henry Hearts. And you're like,
no doubt.
Yep, absolutely.
I've got in my little apartment, have a little Nancy gallery at this point.
I'm so jealous.
Yeah.
I need to work on mine. Yeah.
Yeah. She's incredible.
Oh, Brendan, not Brandon. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing and just being so vulnerable and open about your entire experience. I hope this is helpful to other people out there. And I know it's just been like a lovely bubble of serotonin to chat with you today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Landis. And again, to the folks listening, carry it on. It's a tough road. It certainly can be, but ride it out as best you can. It can get better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just got to keep that as positive a mindset as possible.
Yep. Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah.
Glad it happened.
Me too.